Hello, my dear learners, dear viewers. I am Muhammad Azharul Islam J from Barrister Jamiruddin Sarkar College. It is online school. Welcome to our online school. We are going to discuss today about an important topic, and this is very important for the students of class 7 to 10, and the topic is active to passive voice, active to passive in interrogative and imperative form. Voice active to passive in interrogative sentence. Interrogative and imperative. Interrogative and imperative. Voice interrogative and imperative, active to passive, interrogative and imperative, and let's try to discuss about interrogative voice active to passive in interrogative sentence. And we know by interrogative structure is WS, some WS, what, where, when, how, whom, what, where, when, how, who is, and then helping verb, and then subject, then main verb, principal verb, and then object, and at the end there is an interrogation mark. This is the structure of active voice in interrogative sentence. So how can you change this voice into passive? This is interrogative form. When the sentence begins with what, where, when, how, who is, that means these are WS questions. All these are called WS questions. So if the sentence begins with the WS, then helping verb, then subject, then verb, then object, this is interrogative form, active voice. And the passive structure is all the WS will be here. So if there is what, there is what. If there is where, there will be where. When, how, who is. So then helping verb, if we can recognize a tense in a sentence, what kind of tense we must understand according to the helping verb. So here helping verb, if there is do does, then helping verb am is there. If there is did, there is was were. So according to the helping verb in the active voice, we must put here helping verb in the passive voice. Then object will be the subject. Then verb will be the past participle form. Verb will be in the past participle form. Then by and subject will be object. And at the end there will be an interrogation mark. We must put interrogation mark in passive voice. Active interrogation mark, so passive must, there will be interrogation mark. So now let's see an example here. What do you want? So what, there is what, so we must begin what, the sentence with what in passive voice, and do, the do is in present indefinite, so am is present indefinite auxiliary verb, and what is main verb is in the past participle form by you, and not of interrogation mark. So another example we can see. Where did he find the beggar? So here where begins with where, so we must begin with where. This is WS. Where did past indefinite, so we know past indefinite helping verb was where. Where was the beggar? Where was the beggar? Find is in, will be in the past participle form, found. Where was the beggar found? By he will be him. And note of interrogation. This is the form of passive voice, active to passive in the interrogative sentence. So I repeat, if the sentence begins with WS, this sentence begins with WS, and the WS are what, where, when, how, which, then this will be the same here. If what, then what. If where, then will be where. If when. How, which. And other will be changed into according to the rules of voice. So the helping verb after the WS question, the helping verb, according to the helping verb, we must put here helping verb. If there is do does, there is will be an result. If there is did, there is was. If there is an result, there is an being is being argued. So being will be put after the subject. So according to the tense, the helping verb will be changed. So, and let's see another WS. If the sentence begins with who also WS, and then verb object. This is interrogative sentence, and the sentence begins with who, and this is active voice. So in this case, when the sentence begins with who, then we must begin the sentence with passive voice by. With by, and this passive voice. By whom? We must begin with by whom. If the sentence begins with who in the active voice, so the sentence in the passive voice, the sentence must begin with by whom. Then helping verb here according to the tense. According to the tense, there will be helping verb, and the object will be the subject, and the verb will be in the past participle form. Verb will be in the past participle form. Then helping verb. Then in note of interrogation. I repeat, if the sentence begins with who, and we must begin the passive voice with by whom, then according to the tense, here will be some helping verb. If the verb is in the present tense, present indefinite, then am is are. If the verb in the past indefinite, then was were. If the verb is continuous form, then am being, is being, are being. So according to the tense, there will be helping verb, and the subject object will be the subject. Then the verb will be in the past participle form, and at the end there will be an interrogation mark. So let's see example. Who gave you, or easy word, who opened the door. So here who, so we must begin with by whom. By whom, and the verb is now is in the past indefinite, so was. Who was the door, and the verb will be in the past participle form. Opened. By whom was the door opened? And another example you can see. Who gave you the order, or the gave money? Who gave you money? So here by whom, if they, as the sentence begins with who, so we must begin with by whom. By whom, and gave is in the past indefinite tense, so was or were. So here two objects there, money or you. If we take you, then here you second person, so where? You. By whom, where, you. Give will be in the past participle form, given money. Or we can write here another form. By whom was money given by given you. Here two objects. We can take any of the object. If there is two objects, we can take any of the object, but it is better to take the thing, and so the money, or we can use the person. So we can write any of this. We can use any of the object here. So who gave you money? By whom were you given money? Or by whom was money given by you? I repeat, if the sentence begins with who, then the passive voice begins with began with by whom, and according to the tense we must put here auxiliary verb, and the object will be the subject, then the verb will be in the past participle form, and after the end, at the end of the passive voice, there will be an interrogation mark. So this is the structure of interrogative form. But if the sentence begins with whom, then helping verb, then subject, then verb, then object. This will be decided in the first rules. So if there is the sentence begins with whom, we must put who. We must begin the sentence with who. And according to the auxiliary verb, we must put here auxiliary verb, then object will be the subject, then verb will be in the past participle form, and then by, and subject will be the object, and note of interrogation mark. Whom did you give the book? So here whom, so the sentence begins with who. We must begin the sentence with who, and did is past indefinite tense, so was or were, who was the book. Give will be in the past participle given by you, object, and the interrogation, note of interrogation mark. Whom did you give the money? Give the book? Who was the book given by you? So this is the structure. If the sentence begins with whom and the same helping verb, then subject, verb, object. We must begin the sentence with who, and then helping verb according to the tense, and then object will be the subject, the verb will be in the past participle form, and subject will be the object. Then we must be put by before the object. The example is here. So this is the structure of, these are the structure of interrogative sentence, active to passive. Let's see the imperative. Let's see the imperative structure, active to passive. We know imperative sentence begins with verb, main verb, principal verb. If the sentence begins with verb, main verb, principal verb, then we must know that it is in the form of imperative sentence. So the sentence begins with, in the imperative sentence, we must begin the verb, begin the sentence with passive voice, let, let. If the sentence begins with verb, then the sentence begins with let. Then object will be the subject. Object will be the subject, but if there is let before the show, object will be the same here. The form of the object will be the same here, and there will be a be. We must put let, begin with let, then object is there, and we must use be. Then the verb will be past participle form. The verb will be past participle form, and there will be full stop. There will be full stop. I will repeat. If the sentence begins with verb, and we must know that it is imperative sentence, so we must begin the sentence in the passive voice let. Then object will be after the let. There will be object, and object will be subject here. It is now used as subject, but the form will be here, an object form. Then we must put be. We must put be be after the object or before the verb in the past participle form, we must use be, then the verb will be past participle form. Let's see example. Do the sum. So do and the sum. This is imperative sentence. So let and the sum, and there will be let the sum be, do will be done. Help the poor. Another example. Help the poor. Help the poor. Let the poor be helped. So any of the buy a car, let the car be bought. So this is the structure. Now if the sentence begins with, in the active voice the sentence begins with let, then subject, then verb, then object. In that, if the sentence begins with let, and if the sentence begins with let, then and verb will be in the present form. Let plus subject plus verb plus object. This is also in the active voice imperative sentence. And in that position, in that case, we must use let. As this sentence is imperative, we must begin the sentence with passive voice let. Then object will be the subject, and we must use be. Then the verb will be the past participle form, and there will be by after, and object subject will be the object. I repeat, if the sentence begins with let and the verb is in the present form, so this is the active voice, and we must use this structure in the passive voice. We must begin the sentence with let, then object will be the subject, then we must put be, let, then be, and the verb will be in the past participle form, and subject will be the object, and before the object we must put by. Let's see example. Let me do the work. Here let, so this is imperative sentence. This is imperative sentence. So let the work be done by me. Then another example we can see. Let us help the poor. Let the poor be helped by us. This is the structure of active to passive in the imperative sentence when the sentence begins with let. And another structure if the sentence begins with verb, then so this is the structure of active to passive in the imperative. What we have discussed, I repeat again. If the sentence is in the active voice, if the sentence is an interrogative sentence and the sentence begins with WS, then we must begin the sentence with WS and then helping verb according to tense, then object will be the subject and the main verb will be in the past participle form, then by plus WS. and then object. And if the sentence begins with who, we must, that sentence begins with by whom, and the other rules will be the same according to the rules of voice. And imperative sentence, if the sentence begins with verb, then we must begin with let. And the other will be, and after the object, let after the object and subject, there will be be. We must put be, and the verb will be past participle form. And if the sentence begins with let, then we must understand it is imperative, and the sentence in the imperative sentence we must know it is that sentence in the passive voice sentence begins with let, and object will be the subject. Then we will put by be, then verb will be past participle form, and after subject will be the object, and before the object we must do by preposition. So this is the today's end of the lesson. Thank you for watching this lesson. Thank you very much.